trying to wire up an 84-year-old man is not easy. Especially if he's trying to help. So, but we got it done. For those who have fought for it, freedom has a sweetness that the protected will never know. Let me say that again. For those who have fought for it, freedom has a sweetness the protected will never know. As I was preparing these speeches, the speeches I'm doing today on these four young men, it occurred to me that in 1962, I was at Duke University, and a gentleman by the name of John F. Kennedy came to speak. And for my generation, he was a real hero. And the main reason he was a hero is he told us, ask not what your country can do for you, but what can you do for your country? We took that to heart. Sometimes you wouldn't believe it when you see some of the things we did, but it's interesting that one of my friends was named Marion L. Kempner. He and I had been on boards at Duke, and we'd been friends and we'd served. And when we graduated in 1964, I had to stay an extra year because I was an engineer. But when we graduated, Sandy went to the Peace Corps. And I went to work for the IBM Corporation. Wasn't sure what my ideals were, but you can kind of get an idea right there. A year later, in October of '65, we both met at Quantico, Virginia, in an officer candidate school. He got discouraged with the Peace Corps. I got discouraged with making money. And we figured there was something greater in life that had to be done. The reason I tell you that is because we're sitting here today on Good Friday. For us that are Christians, that's the day that Jesus was crucified for our freedom from sin. The young men I'm talking about today also, in their time, thought that they were protecting us and protecting our freedoms. And so we went over there very patriotic, very idealistic, very inspired. After 3 years in combat, I can tell you a lot of the things kind of blended and became kind of gray to us. The only thing I'll mention to you, and we'll get on these, my gunnery sergeant, my gunner, and myself were out in a place called Contien. Some of you may have been there. A very desolate place that looked over North Vietnam. We were walking down the center line of a minefield. We had something called comm wire, which looks like what my father-in-law used to use for cords, but hook up everything in the house. We're walking down this center line of an active minefield. We get to the very end of it, about from here to the skate park. And all of a sudden, and I'll never forget this, I hear this chai, 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 boom, boom, boom. The North Vietnamese forward observer had picked us up. And I turned to the gunner and the gunny, I said, you know what that is? There are mortars coming in. Do not run in an active minefield. So we turned and we started moving out of that minefield. The gunny and the gunner made it out. I was the last one. The round landed in front of me. The next round landed behind me and blew me out of the minefield. And all I can remember is I can still to this day see I'm landing this hole full of red hot shrapnel. And of course, being Irish, I thought this is not going to end well. And it didn't. But the point of the story is that God saved me that day. And so I think that there is a reason why we did what we did and where we did it, and there's a reason we're here today, and these young men did not die in vain. They died for a very important reason. So, when you hear this again, for those who have fought for it, freedom has a sweetness the protected will never know. Just ask a veteran. First young man I'm going to talk about is First Lieutenant Arthur Powell Gray. He was in H&S Company, 1st Recon Battalion, 1st Marine Division, 3rd Marine Amphibious Force, United States Marine Corps. He was born July 5th, 1946, and he died July 19th, 1970. Pete was born in Richmond, Virginia, and attended Episcopal High School. He entered UVA on an honor award and graduated in 1968. He was involved in varsity football, track, the Raven Society, Omicron Delta Kappa, Zeta Psi fraternity, Imp, and Tilco. He was president of the College of Arts and Sciences and chairman of the Honor Committee. After graduation, he joined the United States Marine Corps and attended OCS in the basic school at Quantico, Virginia. As an infantry officer, he arrived in Vietnam November the 2nd, 1969. He was assigned to the 1st Recon Battalion in Quang Nam, Republic of Vietnam. He saw extensive combat and led 8 long-range recon patrols. Pete was injured on July 13th, 1970, when he was on the end of a 40-foot rope being extracted, practicing being extracted out of the jungle. The helicopter moved out, and somehow he was thrown into a tree and broke his back. He was medevac to Japan, where he died. He was awarded the Bronze Star Medal, the National Defense Service Medal, the Vietnam Campaign and Vietnam Service Medals, and the Combat Action Ribbon. At death, he was revealed to be a member of the Seven Society at the University of Virginia. He is buried at St. Peter's Church in Tallysville, Virginia. Rest in peace, Pete. That was one aside. He has an American flag flying at JPJ at the basketball arena. The second young man was a member of the faculty at UVA. His name was Lieutenant Colonel Rodolfo Lee Nunn, Jr. If you look on your pages, you'll see each one of these things. I think we gave handouts so you can see a picture of them. It's good to see their face again, because that's how we kind of bring them back to life. Brian McKenzie, many years ago, I was doing one of these presentations, and it started to rain. And Brian wrote in his article, he said, "It's like the Lord was shedding tears for these young men." And secondly, by doing this, we bring these young men back to life for a few minutes so all of us can appreciate the ultimate sacrifice they gave. Lieutenant Colonel Rodolfo Lee Nunn, Jr. was the 1st Air Commando Squadron, 56th Aircraft Wing, 7th Air Force, United States Air Force. He was born April 23rd, 1929, and he died June 6, 1968. Rudy was born in Kinston, North Carolina, graduated from the Citadel in 1951. His first assignment was Korea for 2 years. Next was Boston, where he met his wife, Andre Fossey, and they had 2 sons, Lee and David. After a tour in France, he was ordered to UVA to be a U.S. Air Force ROTC staff position. The family stayed in Charlottesville while he was in Vietnam. During a close air support mission at Quai Son in Quang Tri Province, his A-1E Sky Raider was shot down by ground fire. 11 months later, his body was recovered. Rudy was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Purple Heart Medal, 3 Air Medals, the National Defense Service Medal, the Vietnam Service Medal, and the Vietnam Campaign Medal. He is buried in Arlington National Cemetery. Rest in peace, Rudy. The third young man was a naval aviator. And each of these stories seems to me to get tougher. This one has an especially tough ending. Lieutenant Commander James Scott Graham, VA 113, Carrier Assault Force 9, USS Enterprise, Task Force 77, 7th Fleet, United States Navy. He was born October 25th, 1941, and he died December 2nd, 1977. Now, the reason for that is he was missing in action. He was declared dead at that time. Jim was born in Chicago, Illinois, later moved to Ardmore, Pennsylvania. A member of UVA's Naval Reserve Officer Training Command, in June 1963 he earned a BA in Economics. He was commissioned an ensign and completed Naval Flight School as a 1315 Naval Aviator. On his 172nd mission, 1 month from completing his second tour, and 2 months from getting married, his A-4 Skyhawk was hit over Than Hoi, North Vietnam, a place called the Dragon Tooth Bridge. He ejected, waved to his flight leader, and landed in some trees, never to be seen again. He was declared MIA POW. And if you look over here at the POW flag, you will find Graham's plaque there. There's 2 of them there, 2 plaques. On December the 2nd, 1977, he was declared KIA. His remains were returned in 1985. Lieutenant Commander Graham was awarded the Silver Star Medal, our 3rd highest award, Distinguished Flying Cross, 2 of them, the Purple Heart, the POW Medal, 16 Air Medals, the Navy Unit Commendation, the National Defense Service Medal, the Vietnam Service Medal, the Vietnam Campaign Medal. He is buried in Calvary Cemetery, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, next to his father. Rest in peace, Lieutenant Commander James Scott Graham. And the last one, which has special interest to me in the sense that I find that this young man was killed 10 miles from where I was at the same day, same time, when we were fighting against the North Vietnamese group, 16 reinforced concrete bunkers. Second Lieutenant Joseph Bruce Bowman, Alpha Company, 1st Battalion, 6th Infantry, 198th Infantry Brigade, Maricel Division, United States Army. He was born March 21st, 1944. He died February 8th, 1968. Bo was born in Roanoke, Virginia. He received a BS in chemical engineering from UVA in 1967. While participating in Army ROTC, he was commissioned as second lieutenant and attended infantry officer basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia. He arrived in Vietnam October 4th, 1967. As a platoon commander, he was sent to relieve a pinned-down Marine Corps platoon south of Da Nang on February 8, 1968. His unit was ambushed by an NVA battalion. He fearlessly directed his soldiers against waves of fierce attacks on his perimeter, and in the final assault in hand-to-hand combat, he was mortally wounded. When the relief force got there and found him, they found Lieutenant Bowman lying on the ground surrounded by 19 of his troops, and in front of him were 150 dead NVA. Many of them had been hand-to-hand. He was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross for gallantry in combat. That's the second highest award this country can give. The Purple Heart Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Vietnam Service Medal of Vietnam Campaign Medal, and a Combat Infantryman Badge. He is buried at McMillan Cemetery in Carroll County, Virginia. Rest in peace, Second Lieutenant Joseph Bruce Bowman. I will now present the flag to each of the family members for these four young men, and then I come back, I'll have a closing remark and we'll be finished. Can I keep these things from blowing?
Presenting the first flag to the family of Pete Gray, Bill and Will, and Peggy. Thank you. This time, presenting the flag for Rudolph L. Nunn, Jr., Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Air Force. Accepting the flag, standing in for him is Rich Severn, DVMF board member. For James S. Graham, Lieutenant Commander, U.S. Navy, we have Reed Eichner, who's been in touch with his family, and we'll be sending the flag to them. He's accepting the flag on their behalf. Thank you, Reed. Second Lieutenant Joseph B. Bowman, excuse me, U.S. Army. His son is in Marshall Islands, and Reed has been in contact with him, and we'll be sending a plaque to him. Thank you, Reed, for accepting it on his behalf.
Over the last probably 14 years that we have been doing this, where we talked about the biographies, I've always ended this with a poem. Some of you know it. But I got a chance a few years ago to go over to the Isthmus of Gibraltar to find the location where this poem was written. And this poem was written on a guard shack, the door, a wooden door. It was carved into it right near, I think it's called St. Peter's Gate at Gibraltar. And they found this at the end of World War I, the war to end all wars. And I think it's so important for us to understand what this poem is saying, because we hope this will never happen to any of these young men or the young men that are serving today. The poem goes, God and the soldier all men adore, in times of trouble and then no more. For when the war is over and all things are righted, God is forgotten and the old soldier is slighted. Let this never happen to these young men. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel Kelly.